Yeah.
How does he make the word unbelievable so long? Like,
Unbelievable. Yeah, why is he doing all these things? And then I think that's the thing. It's like I think with this film, a lot of people just went into the movie seeing it, like what is going on, and then they ran into an actor who was basically playing his character from stage. So the people who loved that loved that. The people who hated it already hated it. And I think this movie was banned. It was either banned or people were protesting this because people just didn't like Dice. It was like I'm sure you had the Christian conservatives or whoever with their signs saying like Dice is going to hell. I'm sure you had a lot of that going. I'd be more interested in seeing the what happened in 1990 when this film hit because this was a wide release. This is a huge film back in 1990. So
well, I hate the Razzies as a concept, but
mm.
this film won Worst Actor, Worst Picture, Worst Screenplay
Oh God.
at the Razzies and was nominated for Worst Director and two Worst Supporting Actor performances for Gottfried and Wayne Newton. Wayne Newton is phenomenal in this.
He
This
is. And
is
Godfrey's
ridiculous.
fine at his 2 minutes of screen time. He's hilarious.
He's not in it enough, and yeah,
Yes.
he's really good at the role that he's got. Because when they say like Gilbert Gottfried's playing a shock jock radio guy, I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. We get a bit of that, and then we get a bit
Yeah.
of him kind of coming out of that and just having a conversation with Dice, but getting you keep just enough of the kind of the level of humor, the bad tasteness. Just like, it shows they have a history. They're talking about things that they did in the past. You get a lot of that character just from seeing him like performing and then not performing, and then he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and then he dies on air.
He does on air. He's like,
And everyone's like, oh, it's just another one of his bits, but no, he's generally being electrocuted on air.
Somebody just shot my engineer. They're electrocuting me.
It's only when you
stuff
start
that is-
swearing that they realise, oh no, you're not supposed to swear.
Oh yeah, the lady who I've seen in other movies, her name escapes me with the hair and the glasses and everything. She's been in other things. I just can't think of
Oh,
what.
is that like the receptionist?
The receptionist? Yeah, she's like, you can't say that.
I haven't looked up where she's from, but I do. That look is familiar, but then she kind of looks like Ghostbusters.
She looks like Janine, yeah,
Yes,
kind of like
yeah.
in that Janine type thing. Yeah. So, Mr. Crunch has a lot of people that want to kill him.
So we also have Priscilla Presley as Colleen Sutton. This is like one of two films Priscilla Presley ever did. So it's this and not Hot Shots, Naked Gun.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have a huge acting career, and I feel like there's some similarities between this and the Naked Gun, where they're both kind of parodies of police detective films.
Yeah, and she's kind of like she's more the femme fatale in this one, where she's more like I don't know what you would call it in the Naked Gun movies, just like the sidekick, I guess, or like the girlfriend of the cop, I guess, or the wife of the cop.
There are some elements of femme fatale in Naked Gun from her, but not as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she's very much the femme fatale. She's very much playing into the noir parody. She doesn't get a lot to do here. She's more just like another presence, but she's fine in that role. And then we have this kid. This kid who just like lives on the beach, I think.
Yeah, the beach kid. Brandon called the beach kid.
This film is parodying so many different like genre cop films of like Cop and a Half, which I think when did that come out, after this or before this?
It came out like in '91, but I think of Dick Tracy came out the same year as this, though.
It did, but
so you kind of have that same thing of like the kid and then this kid type thing, you know?
Yeah, and Dick Tracy obviously is a comic book that's been out in the past,
Yes.
so they were probably parodying that aspect of it. Because I think Ford Fairlane is also he's based on a character that existed before. Like it's not an original character, but it was published in weekly series in the 70s
but I'm
and
not
80s.
sure what.
Yeah, okay. So this kid just has a Flintstones ring, and his dad's got a Flintstones ring, and he wants him to...
Yabba dabba doo. It's like just weird things like that. Just everything's very quirky, and everything's like I said earlier, the MacGuffin or like the red herring. It's like you got to find my dad. He's got a ring like me. It's a Flintstone ring. Like, okay,
yeah,
okay,
you know all of these things are going to kind of come back together towards the end and tie up in it.
Which they do, which I do appreciate. Yes.
Yeah. And so one of Wayne Newton's, he's got a couple of goons, and then he's got Robert Englund as the bondage dressed,
like the S&M smiley guy or something like that. Yeah.
So he had obviously worked with Rennie Harlin on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. For some reason, he's putting on an English accent in this film, which I'm here for.
Often I will, and I do this at work and everything. I always go to people all the time and go like, hello. And like, what is that from? It's like, oh, don't worry, you wouldn't understand where it's from type thing. But I do hello all the time. I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
Well, there is a British sitcom called LOLO, which is set during the Second World War in France, in the French Resistance. It's basically mainly set in this cafe run by a guy called René, who's a French guy. He's part of the Resistance, and it's just the people around him, so the people that work in the bar, as an Englishman who tries to speak French but does so in a horrendous... Everything's in English, but he over-enunciates things in the wrong way, as they would hear it if they were French, and he was an Englishman speaking French. Anyway, it's kind of
like when I do an English accent. So.
It's like when I do an American accent.
Exactly.
It's like when anyone does any accent. So yeah, whenever I hear LOLO, I think of that first. But now I will think of this, because Robert Englund's delivery of the line is... very creepy.
It's like a whispery type. It's like almost like an ASMR type thing. It's like hello. It's like Yeah. And then he's just got like just an old leather and chains and everything. He looks like it's like if you took like I guess he's almost like the lead singer of Judas Priest, Rob Halford, a little bit. It's kind of got that same look to him a little bit too, like old leathered out with an English accent. That's I think of Robert Englund and Robert Halford almost. It just came to me in a dream. Okay.
I can see that, yeah. And he's wearing that every scene. So wherever situation he's in...
Except when he's the chauffeur, except when he's driving the hearse.
But when he's fighting in a boat, when he's up on scaffolding, like coming down a building, he's falling through a piano.
There's a lot of false... he's like the... I'm sure
he's Will Ferrell in Austin Powers. He keeps on dying, but not dying.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't think of, Mustafa.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, he dies like 3 times, but not until the end does he actually die. So I really enjoyed his... I like a good henchman, and he's very much a Bond-level henchman. He's got a lot of quirks to him, a lot of gimmicks to him. But it ultimately is very stupid and dies.
Yeah, even though the other 2 guys are like the 2 guys with the dusters and everything. I forgot what their names. I think their names are like rock and roll, or they have like stupid names. Or
they say like they're in a band called Pain.
Pain. It's like kooky. That's when you first meet him in the was it the hospital or something like that.
Yeah, you're in a band. Yeah, we're called Pain.
Pain. It's like, kooky. That's a good like stuff like that where he's like people are we're sitting in the theater thinking like, what the hell does that mean? And then he says it for us, like, well, okay, thank you, Dice, for being the audience in that moment as well.
And then we have the character who I think I liked the least was when he finds Zuzu Petals, played by Maddie Corman. She's a little irritating. And Ford Fairlane is irritated by her.
Yes.
But then she's the character he spends the most time with.
Yes.
And I didn't like that all that much. She's just kind of a bit of a ditzy teenage groupie.
She is. Yeah, it's she has her purpose, but at the same time, it's like he hates her, we hate her. But I do like all the self-awareness that goes on, where it's like, yes, I know this character's annoying, but we're gonna keep her in the film no matter what, though.
So. But we'll keep on telling her that she is annoying.
It's like, you idiot, we're gonna die.
She keeps forgetting her bag places. Yeah. Yeah. And then the only last one we have left is Ed O'Neill, who I'm always delighted when he crops up in films. Doesn't happen often enough. As Lieutenant Amos, or as Ford Fairlane calls him, Anus, who is a police detective who was also part of a failed 70s disco group called Disco Express that had one hit single, Booty Time.
Yeah. The greatest white disco group of all time.
He sings numerous times throughout the film, unprompted often.
Booty time in the USA. Booty time, yay, yay, yay.
Yeah.
It's a great song that you only get about 20 seconds of.
And they do that a few times, and then that's it. So happy that
was. I'm just thinking about Booty Time makes me. That's another thing I just quote randomly too, and there's so many just weird things about this film that are trapped in like this vacuum of. If you've seen Ford Fairlane, you get it, and if you haven't seen Ford Fairlane, like, why are you doing that? Like, well, time for you to watch Ford Fairlane.
Do you think this was supposed to be the first part of a franchise?
I would hope so. I mean, you would think with it being behind a big studio and Joel Silver being behind it and Dice, who was in early '90s, like still the biggest comedy act. Like he was basically the Eddie Murphy of the '90s. I feel for like at least the first half of the '90s, and I think they could have if this movie was done now with a different comedian. Let's say I keep going back to Kevin Hart or something.
I mean,
like
he's
that. It's
like the biggest one at the moment. So
biggest
like,
one at the moment.
I can't really see Ford Fairlane starring John Mulaney. That's the wrong kind of.
But he could be funny though, because I mean, but also the humor would be a completely different concept. Like like instead of rock and roll detective, who would John Mulaney be? Like
he'd be like an admin detective.
Like like admin detective or something like that, or like something
Microsoft
like that.
Excel detective.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this, and it was such it's a zeitgeisty film where you had all these huge people from the '90s that were popular and big, and obviously Joel Silver, I'm sure, called in a ton of favors for everybody, saying, "Hey, we're doing a vehicle with Dice Clay. Do you want to be in it?" And I'm sure whatever money they gave him or something, or maybe some people did it for modest amounts of money. But I would have loved to have seen more, Adventures of Ford Fairlane, because I think he's hilarious. But it's like, where do you go from there? Because the way they end the movie, also, I guess you could have had a sequel after it, all things considered. But
yeah.
I would have been like, I'll make the next one more like a hard boiled Raymond Chandler novel or something like that, where it's like really dark and brooding or something like that. But
it ends really positively where he's he's won $1 million. He's on a boat with.
Dirt.
He's with Jazz. He's with the kid. So everything's all happy. But I think he would probably have spent that $1 million pretty quickly, just on what we can see there. Because it looks like his own yacht or his own boat. So
I think that was $1 million yacht.
So I can fully understand them coming back to the next film and like you owe money for the rest of the boat that you bought. You only covered half of it, so it could absolutely be back down to nothing again. But I was reminded a lot of another Simplistic Review's favourite film, Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins.
Yes.
Where it feels like the start of a franchise that ultimately didn't happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like I feel like a lot of these movies in the late '80s and '90s, like they had great ideas, and I was even looking at just like a list of films just from 1990 that I really like a lot. Like I'm really partial also to the movie Men at Work with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. I think the movie's fantastic.
I haven't seen that one.
And it has the same kind of vibe. It's kind of just it's shot a lot of scenes are just shot on location, one location. You don't really bounce around to a lot of different places, and it's minimal characters. Even though Ford Fairlane does have a lot of characters, but they're quirky and weird. Like Men at Work stars Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez. If you haven't seen it, as garbage men trying to solve a murder. So you have all these movies from the 90s, I feel, that had a lot of, we could do something maybe with this, but then they don't. Like The Rookie. Have you seen The Rookie with that's Charlie Sheen as well, and
no.
Clint Eastwood.
I haven't.
And Raul Julia is probably one of the best. Raul Julia, besides like maybe I'm trying to think. Raul Julia was in Tequila.
I know Raul Julia. He's from the Addams Family.
And from the Addams Family as well. Yeah, so he's fantastic. In The Rookie as well. And that's one of these movies that you could have had more Clint Eastwood and Charlie Sheen, but they never did. So I feel like the 90s were full of, we have ideas that could go somewhere, but we're moving on to the next thing type thing. And if you don't make any money, and I'm sure that, I don't know how the Hollywood system was back in like 1990, but it seemed like they were putting out a lot of smallish movies with modest budgets, but not huge, big, giant blockbusters like they were in the 80s. It's almost like the 80s bankrupted studios almost, or made them a lot of money. In 1990, they were trying to find ways to recoup money with small little things.
Yeah, well, this came out the same week as Quick Change, for instance, which fits that.
Yeah, we had Bill Murray and everything. I love that movie.
And same week as Ghost, which had about the same budget as this one.
Yeah.
And it's I know it came out the same year, but it came out a week after Die Hard 2. Literally a week after.
Okay.
Same studio, same director, a week's difference.
Great. That's a great month for Rennie. Well, I guess it's like, it's happy and then sad.
Yeah.
Even though I would have been happy with both those movies. So.
But that's like, last year we had 2 Ridley Scott films a month apart with The House